Citizens Advocate is an online production of Tarotcom. Citizens Advocate, the point of change. Online at citizensadvocate.net.
Jack's a radio talk show host whose program Deadline Live with Jack Blood is now in its 5th year of broadcasting and its 2nd year of syndication. Jack has a unique understanding of how the global super elite do their business. He currently publishes a monthly newsletter called Matrix Monthly and maintains 2 websites, www.jackblood.com and www.uncoverthenews.com. Please join me in welcoming Jack Blood.
Well, I don't have the voice that Jeff has, or I'd be on the radio. Great voice. That man's going to be famous someday. I want to get started here, but before I do, I want to do something very important. We have a lot of vendors here. They worked very hard to come out here. They traveled at their own expense. And one of my favorite vendors is New Millennium Concepts, and they make the best water filters in the business. If you don't mind, if you can indulge me, I'd like to bring up Debbie Morrow from New Millennium. You might have heard her on the Alex Jones show repeatedly. Debbie.
Hi there. It's me, Debbie Morrow from New Millennium. Hi, everybody. It's great to finally put faces to the wonderful people that call in and ask about water filters, and to get the opportunity to meet Jack face to face. And we're so humbled to be here among all you people. What I wanted to do is encourage you to come over to the vendor area and look at every great product that's over there, whether it's t-shirts or bumper stickers or books or great water filters. We're really looking forward to seeing you all here tonight and then all day tomorrow. And I'd like to tell you that Berkey water filters are among the best water filters in the world, and we really would like to see them in the hands of people who want to have good health. And thank you very much. Bye.
I see you all drinking water over here. You have your bottled water. You think it's really good. You need to get one of these. They're cheap, and you can just put any water in it, and it hooks you right up. And look, folks, you ever thought you'd get to a point where you had to pay for your water, and even the water you pay for is poison? I mean, I think that really speaks to the situation that we're in. All right, I'm Jack Blood. I host a syndicated radio program on the Genesis Communications Radio Network. My claim to fame is that I sit in for Alex Jones when he can't be there, I guess. No, that's not true. Well, no, it's true, but I'm lying now. I'm going to take my notes and probably throw them away, folks, because I try to have notes so I can give you an honest, professional presentation, but the notes don't work. I don't want to be reading to you. I can do that on the radio show. I want to say before I start off that what an honor it is for me to speak in the same tent. This is where it's at, folks, this tent, with Stephen Jones. Give a hand for Stephen Jones, folks. Lester Tarpley's in the back working on his computer. I better make this good. This better be good or I'm in big trouble. I started in college radio back in 1983. I worked for a little college station, a 200 watt called KCMU Radio. They broke all the big grunge bands that sold millions of records at 200 watts. I used to be a correspondent. I would go out in the field and interview rock bands, and that was my first initiation to radio, and I fell in love with it. I've been in love with radio ever since because you paint the picture. When you listen to radio, everything isn't spoon-fed to you. You gotta fill in the blanks. You gotta use your imagination to paint the pictures in your head, and thank God there is a medium where you're urged to think, and with our radio show, urged to think for yourself. I also want to say, let's skip my CV. We'll get into that during this 45 minutes, and I'll bring up some of the things I've done. I also want to say, if you look around at this conference, and I want to thank Kent. Let's give a big hand for Kent and all these people. Man, they worked their asses off. They're bringing all the best speakers all over the world to this conference. It's just been expense to do it. And I'm really impressed with it. But you're looking around, you're saying, well, there's hundreds of people here. Maybe there should have been thousands. I want you to know that as we speak right now, this speech is going out on internet radio and being heard around the world live, okay? So there are thousands and thousands of people listening. And I want to thank the Revere Radio Network, you can Google that, for putting us on the air right now live. All the footage, all the cameras you see from the video jihad are going to be reprocessed and put out on the web. Millions of people are going to see these speeches. So you are really a part of something that is huge. I want you to give a big hand for yourself. Make it loud. Let's be impressive. I'm here today, I do a radio program for 2 hours a day, Monday through Friday on the GCN Radio Network. I publish blogs. I operate multiple websites. Thank you for giving me credit for 2. We probably have about 5 or 6 different websites. It's a lot of work. I'm humbled to be part of this. That's really what it comes down to. I'm here to talk about accountability. We're going to talk about accountability. And we're going to talk about personal accountability. Because why we point the finger at Dick Cheney, that was my dick joke, Dick Cheney, and why we point the finger at George Herbert Walker Bush or Henry Kissinger or David Rockefeller, sometimes we forget where it all starts. It does start with us. We're the ones that have enabled these people to do what they've done for decades, if not centuries, if not millennia. And thank you for Al Gore for inventing the internet to give us an even footing where we can now have our own say. And we have had an amazing, in fact, we live, I think, not only in the most important time in human history because of technology, but we live in the most exciting time in human history because of technology. I feel like I'm in Catholic Church again. Can you guys kneel and then finish my sentences for me? It is absolutely amazing. I have to think, the internet was not invented by Al Gore. Of course, it was invented by DARPA. It was a military asset, and then it was a collegiate asset. And I had to think that if I was a fly on the wall in the room when they were unleashing this on the public, and I took computer science and had a degree in that in college long before. I was on Prodigy when you were chatting with a few people, and that was it. Or AOL came after Prodigy. But you had to think that if you were the fly on the wall when these guys were debating what was going to happen when they gave us the internet, and listening to the pros and cons. Now, on the one hand, you had the guys saying, well, look, we're going to be able to create a new medium. We're going to make lots of money. We're going to be able to propagandize and indoctrinate the people and mind control them in ways that even our fathers and grandfathers could have never anticipated. And you have the other guy who's saying, but they're going to be able to go on it and talk to each other. And that's what we've been trying so hard for so long to try to stop. Talk to your neighbor. Can't trust your neighbor. He could be a child molester. He could be with Al-Qaeda. But what have we done? The internet is a giant neighborhood. So I would love to have been a fly on the wall with the pros and cons, the cost-benefit analysis. In the end, with their hubris, with their greed, with their egos, they gave us the internet. And I'm thinking right now they're pretty damn sorry about it. Now, there's been a lot of talk about Internet 2, regulating the internet. We just fought. I want to thank everybody that joined us in this effort. We just saved the internet this year with net neutrality, and you must have seen the commercials. We're AT&T. We're going to protect the internet for you from the government. Jaw-dropping. So AT&T and Verizon, the telecom companies, are going to protect my internet for me. I don't think anyone bought that, and that's why it didn't fly. But basically, what net neutrality meant was that you would have to pay an entrance fee. And the more people you brought in, the more influential you were, the more you would have to pay. And they would basically price us out of the internet. This is how close we were. Now, I'm not saying that to scare you or to warn you, because the point I'm going to make is they can't take the internet from us now. It's too late. Because we can use wireless, we can use all the new technology to set up servers in our own neighborhood where you can log on, and we've got one group and the other group, the other group, the other group around the world all connect to each other and make their own internet 2 or 3 or B or A, whatever you want to call it. You can take over. You can go, if you're Rupert Murdoch, he said the day of the media baron is over. Literally the next day went out and bought MySpace, which was a bad investment. Because if they censor us, if they make it so we can't communicate, if it's not free, we'll go out and create, I have a website called peoplefor911justice.com, which works in the same technological principle as MySpace. There are many more of those coming out there. YouTube was just bought by Google, who has been caught with their pants down censoring myself and many other people on the internet. Obviously, it might have started out in principle of being good. They were good guys, but I know what they are now. They're censors, and they're in the pocket of the government. So you might say, well, YouTube is finished. We're screwed, Jack. But there's already TrueTube. And other people are using the same technology against it. They're using it against, I call them the New World Order, you can call them the globalists, the global elite, you can call them the Bush crime family, whatever you want. So they cannot take it from us. And I don't want you to be afraid that they can. There are people right now working on the technology to sustain that and to keep it in your hands. Can you imagine if in 1963, if they had the internet, they'd have solved the JFK conspiracy within a year. In the court of public opinion. You're going to hear a lot of talks at this conference about courts, about using the system, about, getting grand juries together, and I advocate all of it. But what is the most important thing? What is the most important court, and who's the judge? It is the court of public opinion, and you're the judge. This is democracy. You're going to hear a lot of talk about democracy here over this weekend, and I'll advise you to what Benjamin Franklin said, Thomas Jefferson. Democracy is 2 wolves and a lamb deciding what to have for lunch. Liberty is a well-armed lamb. And I'm going to talk about accountability. I want to first start with the events of 9/11. I did an interview earlier today with Jim Mars, the great Jim Mars, who knew about 2 seconds before and just after the events of 9/11 that was an inside job. And he was right on it. And he asked me a bunch of questions. One of them he asked me was, Jack, what's the single best evidence you have for 9/11 being an inside job? And I thought about it, and I rolled through in my mind. What is it? Is it the stand down? Is it the insider trading? Is it the physical scientific evidence that Stephen Jones just presented to you? Is it, the admission? Is it where we caught them in their lies? No, it's the cover-up. It's the same thing with JFK. That's where they spent, can I say this? That's where they shot their wad, okay? That's where they made their big mistake. They got caught covering up the crime. Now you can bring any amount of evidence you want, but one thing you can't change. They already admitted they were totally incompetent on every level. David Shippers, who by no means is a liberal, actually was involved in prosecuting Bill Clinton for impeachment for the wrong reasons. I did not smuggle drugs with George Bush in Arkansas. I didn't do it. He had FBI agents and had people coming to him saying, we tried every chain of command we could reach. We called everyone we could. We did everything we could to tell the government and to tell the alphabet agencies that there was something about to happen and no one would take our call. David Shippers, will you help us? So Shippers calls Ashcroft. Shippers calls everyone. And They won't take his call and they won't talk to him. All right? They've admitted this. In fact, they've gone so far as to not only admit they were incompetent, but to use it as an excuse for what happened on 9/11. And then, of course, in the problem, reaction, solution scenario, the Hegelian dialectic, which these guys are well trained at, especially at Yale, Skull and Bones, they made lemonade out of lemons in a lot of ways, and we'll get into cost-benefit analysis, but we screwed up. We were totally incompetent. Give us more power. Give us more money. And what did the American people do? They waved their made in China flags and said, not only are we going to give you more money, but we're going to give you our hearts and our minds. Because that's what they tell you. What do they tell you? We're going to win their hearts and minds. You sick of hearing that? It's the Iraqi people. If we just let us win their hearts and minds, we have no problem. And I can get to that solution, that answer, that mathematical equation. But I tell you, if someone's out to win your heart and mind, there's going to be a loser. Who's the loser? It's you. So I want to break this down for you and make it real simple. They took the blame for it. They said, we screwed up. We were totally incompetent. They got more money, of course. They juiced you on that. Then they covered it up, and they've benefited from it ever since. I would say that even if we don't get into the scientific evidence, even if we don't put through the translations of Buzzy Krongard and his cronies doing insider trading before 9/11, even if we don't have a whistleblower from NORAD come out, even if we don't have General Myers turn onto our side and tell us exactly what the plan was, we've got them right there.
Right.
We screwed up. We're incompetent. We dropped the ball and we got caught covering it up, and we benefited and we profited off of it. I mean, this is an amazing thing. I was talking to a gentleman outside, and he had mentioned an interview that I had done quite a while back with a whistleblower who had come out just before 9/11. His name was Richard Andrew Grove. Came out just before 9/11, and he found some funny business going on at AIG and Kroll, and if you start Googling this and finding out who these people are, and that they were running security at the airports and running security for Port Authority at the... we get into Securicom running by Neil Bush, and here's the brother of the president running security at the World Trade Center towers, okay? Talk about incriminating evidence. But Richard Andrew Grove was targeted, and they called him in for a special meeting that day at 9/11. He was late, and as he was driving to the towers, he saw him get hit. They had called him in for a meeting to be a victim, like John O'Neill. John O'Neill was here's the problem. Well, all cops are bad, all FBI agents are FBI agents, all CIA agents are bad. No, that's not true. There are a lot of good guys out there like John O'Neill. And John O'Neill was the nemesis of Mr. Goldstein, Emmanuel Goldstein, otherwise known as Osama bin Laden. And he was getting close. And they stopped him. I mean, if you know about W1999, which is the order to stay off the bin Ladens, both in the Clinton and the Bush administration, you'll know why John O'Neill was frustrated with his attempts to go after bin Laden. That was his job. Go get bin Laden, but don't get him. Go get bin Laden, but don't get too close. So he quit. But working for the alphabet agencies, his first day of work was at the World Trade Center towers, and he died. So when we're talking about accountability, let's talk about the industry that 9/11 created. Talk about making lemonade from lemons. Logically, I like to use common sense and logic. I mean, sue me, I'm with Al-Qaeda. Logically, 9/11 should have cost people a lot of money. It should have wiped out entire companies and put everybody under. So how did they take a money-losing event and turn it into a windfall? They had to have prior knowledge. They had to have all of this set up beforehand in place to get right on it. While I'm speaking about that, let me tell you about a recent FOIA request that was granted by a college student running a website called Outrage Moderates. Does everybody know what a FOIA request is? It's a Freedom of Information Act request. That means they have the information, you have to petition them for it. Sometimes with something like this, you have to put in 200 petitions, they'll write you back, you didn't dot the I, you didn't put a comma in, and they'll run you through the ringer. And eventually, if you're lucky, they'll grant your FOIA request. You'll get the information under the public domain for the people that you requested. So Outrage Moderates requested the notes from Donald Rumsfeld on the Pentagon during 9/11. Now you would think that during 9/11, the Secretary of Defense would have been trying to protect the country. His first excuse is, I was out helping the bodies. Trying to help the people that were hitting the Pentagon. I mean, he's not protecting the country, he's out doing the work of an aid unit, an ambulance worker. That was his excuse. Well, what was he really doing? We found out through this FOIA request that he was giving dictation to Stephen Cambone to go directly to General Myers. And here's what Donald Rumsfeld was saying during, we don't know if it's all over, right? I mean, we know now, looking back, well, it ended at a certain point. But at that time, if they didn't know this was happening, for all they knew, there were 20 more planes, nukes going off in every city. They had no idea. Again, if they were genuine and they weren't implicated in being involved in this conspiracy, they should have expected a lot more. And frankly, if this was done by Al-Qaeda, operated out of a cave with 19 guys with box cutters, they would have been smart to keep going. They had us on our knees. Why did they stop? Okay, but I digress. On the lawn of the Pentagon, during, with the airplanes coming in, the air traffic shut down, what is Donald Rumsfeld doing? He's giving notes to his assistant, to the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Myers. And this is what he says. We found this out. I have this on my website, jackblood.com. This is what he says. Sweep it all up. Go massive. Blame it on Osama bin Laden and Saddam Hussein, even if you have to make it up. But he's not accountable. In 1993, Webster Tarpley's in the room, and he did a great interview with me, like he always does, and we talked about the 1993 World Trade Center bombings. They admitted it. There were tapes of it. It was on the front page of the New York Times. The FBI was doing a sting operation. You'll always hear. If you ever hear someone's been caught, we just heard a thing we were driving down today. A guy at the border in New Mexico was caught selling pipe bombs to the FBI. And the talk radio host said, boy, that guy was stupid. And I was telling my wife, this is a sting. I guarantee you this is a sting operation. And they set the guy up. And what they did was they went to justify their jobs. They went out and found some low-level kid who could make a few pipe bombs. This guy did a good job, by the way. And said, make us some pipe bombs and sell them to us. And here's, $20,000, okay? So this is how they operated. This is how, and the kid did it, he got caught. It wasn't stupid. Well, he was stupid, because if a stranger comes up to you, please, if I can give you a little advice, wants you to saw off a shotgun, remember Ruby Ridge, okay? Because that's how that all started. An informer went to Randy Weaver, who's a friend of mine, and said, saw off a shotgun for me. And he did it, and they busted him. They said, snitch on everybody. Snitch on the Patriot movement. Snitch on everybody. And Randy said, no, and the rest is history. His daughter, his son was shot in the back. His wife was shot holding their baby, dead. And if it wasn't for Jack McClam and Bo Grice, they'd all been dead. If it wasn't for Patriot Talk Radio getting those guys up there, they'd all been dead. They killed them all and covered it all up. Going back to 1993 World Trade Center bombing, because we're talking about accountability, right? Here it is on the front page of the New York Times. We did it. We gave them the bomb. We paid them to make it. At the last minute, Salam says, I don't want to use a real bomb. That's crazy. He goes, yeah, it'll be more real. Use a real bomb. I mean, they did everything but pick him up in a limo, drive him down to the World Trade Center tower, show him where to put the bomb, and hand the cash out, on MTV. I mean, it's just about like that. But they did, the guy got caught because he turned in the Ryder truck. Are you kidding me? I mean, where do they find these people? The people in Florida, the people in Chicago, the people in Canada. You always hear these people, these terrorists that we bust, and you never hear what happens to them. Why? They have to drop the charges. Because they didn't do anything, and they're retarded people. They're very stupid people, and they have to find these stupid people to do this. So they found some stupid people, all except one who covered his ass and tape recorded all the phone calls for his insurance policy, a la Barry Seal, and it's admitted. It's on the front page of the New York Times. The FBI did it. They financed the bomb. They gave the bomb materials. They told them where to go set up the bomb. There's two schools of thought on this. One is they put the bomb and the towers are going to crash into each other and bring down the towers. The other is it was setting us up for the bigger incident which came later in Oklahoma City. There's a theory about that too. Oh yeah, that's right, I'm sorry. The Iranians did it. The Iranians did it, and they ate my homework. So, wow, we got a lot of evidence about 9/11, don't we? But in '93, they just admitted that they did it, and nothing happened to them. I was kind of hoping that John Kerry would get elected. I went and covered the conventions. You look at me, you go, hey, you're an internet radio host. I'm actually a syndicated host on dozens of AM and FM stations around the country and around the world. I was on Media Row. I infiltrated Fox News. I was sitting reporting about 9/11, the Federal Reserve, and all of that under the Fox banner at Media Row at the Democratic National Coronation, as I call it. I'll never forget Wolf Blitzer. He comes up and he sees me at the Fox News thing. He's about 4'2". Wolf. And he sat, and he crossed his arms like this, and he just stared at me. He couldn't believe his eyes. And he was listening to what I'm talking about. In fact, I mentioned this in the media conference. I just got a picture sent from the Democratic National Coronation Ceremony. It's me. It's a picture of me, Michael Moore, and Tony Snow all on the mic. So I'm in the middle. It's the left-wing guy who won't talk to me, the right-wing guy who's now the press secretary for George Bush, and me in my Tyranny Response Team t-shirt. But I bought into, even then, I was still under the ether of the big conspiracy of the mainstream media. A lot of it is controlled chaos, and most of it's phony. Just like our politics, like our political structure today. Most of it is phony. So I talked to Tony Snow because he's shaking hands with Al Franken like they're long-lost buddies. They're cousins, like Bush and Kerry. They're cousins. They admit to it. So were Al Gore and Richard Nixon, cousins. 260 million Americans and some 400 million illegals in this country. We can all be president, right? Why is all but 9 of our presidents and the other 9 are suspect? Why are they all related to like the Queen of England and they all brag about their royal lineage? Okay, we can all be president. You better check your bloodline before you start getting your hopes up. And Tony Snow, I asked him, I go, well, aren't you guys supposed to be enemies, you and Al Franken? He's like, no, we're buddies. Oh, I get it. You get on the air, you divide the country into red and blue states, and then you sit and laugh about it and have a beer? Treason. So I was hoping Skull and Bones Kerry would get elected over Yale, Skull and Bones, Eastern Establishment, Royal Lineage, George W. Because I was sick of being a liberal, and I knew overnight I'd be a right-wing extremist. I wouldn't change any of my ideas. I'd be the same person. Oh, yeah, because I have the dirt on Clinton, too. I have the dirt on Kerry. I have the dirt on Al Gore. I have the dirt on Hitlery or Hillary Clinton. Call her what you like. Yeah, because George Herbert Walker Bush did Ruby Ridge. Bill Clinton was very busy. He was the peaceful guy, right? Oh, he loved the peace and prosperity of Bill Clinton. He only got caught getting a blowjob in the Oval Office. I did not have sex with that woman, the cigar dude. Well, Oklahoma City was an inside job. I mean, do the math. In fact, I could read your report. I got it in my folder somewhere. Nichols just came out and said he was handled. And we knew that. And I believe we're going to find out a lot more about that. But a fertilizer bomb, and a crude fertilizer bomb in a truck outside does not blow the building out from the inside. There were children in that building. There was a nursery in that building, but you know what? The BATF kids weren't in that nursery. And the BATF, who were the targets, allegedly, of Timothy Bin Laden, McVeigh, Goldstein, was the BATF. And you know how stupid they are? When the mainstream media came up and asked them questions, why are you outside? Why weren't you in there? You know what they said? Oh, we got text message not to go in today, but to stand by. That was reported in the mainstream media. As well as multiple bombs going off in that building. So Clinton, who, by the way, when I was at the convention, I'll just drop this in, I'll digress this fast. I watched his speech in 2004 at the convention. This beautiful speech, and everybody was raving about it. Even patriots were calling me going, Jack, he was amazing. Oh, I was there. There were applause signs, and there were people, literally poking you to get up and clap madly, okay? I'll give him this. He is an eloquent speaker, and that's why he's a Rhodes Scholar. You can ask me about that if you want. What does that mean, Rhodes Scholar? Wesley Clark's a Rhodes Scholar, too. But Clinton killed those kids, and they covered it up in '93. They did the World Trade Center. They killed all those people in Waco. When I interviewed Chris Matthews for a TV special I was doing, I interviewed Tim Russell, Chris Matthews, and Ollie North. I interviewed a lot of people. I put them in the chair. And I couldn't believe, and Chris Matthews told me two things that just rocked my world. He said, I've been in the White House, I know for a fact. This is probably in 2002, 2003. I know for a fact that Cheney runs the White House. Okay. The other thing he said that made me sick and turned my stomach is he said, I'm an establishment guy. I don't get into conspiracy theories. And those people in Waco got what they deserved. Okay? Now you can make the argument that David Koresh got what he deserved. Alright? You can make the argument, and I know these people. I've worked with them. I know what charitable, honest, good, loving people they are, some of them. But you'll never make the argument that those children in there got what they deserved. Okay? So I don't care if they're with these guys. So, I'm a liberal. I'm a right-wing extremist. I'm a constitutionalist. I'm a nationalist. I'm a lot of things, to be honest with you. I think that being a nationalist is one of the most important things that I am. Because when I used to live in the fake utopian world where we can have the perfect socialism. Socialism is good if you have the perfect socialism, which is impossible. It's not a perfect world. Communism is good if you have the perfect communism, but you never do. You have Stalin killing 20 million people. Oh, we were talking about a Holocaust. We're Holocaust deniers. You never really hear too much about that Stalin thing, do you? That's because David Rockefeller and these guys finance this. They work with this. And this is their problem. But being a nationalist is probably one of the most important things that I am, and I'm not a rabid fascist nationalist. You hear the word nationalism now, it's a bad thing. But the only way I know to stop the total consolidation of regional and world government is to be a nationalist. I don't know any other way. Because we don't live in a utopia. The world isn't perfect, and even if you can make the case, man, let's bring in some of these George Bush look. I know we got one here. Who here is with me? the CIA guy that was sent over here to watch this. Have we converted you yet? All right, where are you? No, I think we have. That's why he's being quiet right now. He's thinking about it. Or she, sorry. No, I didn't lose my place. It gets to me. It really. This morning, I'm going to finish what I'm talking about nationalism and the global process. This morning, I was at a memorial for Dan Wallace and the victims' families, run by Luke. Luke, will you stand up, man, for just a second? I know you don't want the attention. Please, man. See, Luke goes out and does street actions in New York. Luke led the thousands of people at Ground Zero in New York. Okay? 5th anniversary. You know what he does in his spare time? He goes in and helps people in the soup kitchens. Okay? Because this is about, for him, it's about personal accountability. It's about personal responsibility. And he gives a good name to the movement. And Dan Wallace, whose father died in the World Trade Center tower as a fireman, who was a patriot, gave his life, okay? I couldn't keep him away from that, like so many firefighters and cops. We were at Ground Zero, man, the cops loved us. Why is that? But I was at this event this morning, and it really made me reflect. And it should make us all reflect. Because real people died that day. Not numbers, not statistics, not an advertising slogan, but real people died. And real people are dying right now. As we're giving this speech, real people are dying right now, all over the world, because of 9/11. We see 3,000. Yeah. It's hundreds of thousands and millions, and they haven't even gotten started yet. Haven't even gotten started yet. So I'm a nationalist because even if you can make the case that George Bush is a good guy and the Bush family only want to help us, I think it was Mencken that said, the urge to help people is almost always the urge to control people. Okay? But even if they're willing dupes or unwilling dupes, even if they don't know, even if they think, we're useless eaters, we don't know what's best for us, they're there to decide what's best for us. That's what they do. That's their job because we're too stupid, we're just cattle, we don't know what we're talking about, we don't know how to live our lives, we'll just like lemmings, just go right off the cliff. Without them, even if that was true, even if they're good, their intentions are good, they're all good, how do we know when we have a world government 20 years down the road, but that guy, 50 years, 100 years, 200 years down the road, how do we know that guy's going to be good? When they have, at the top of the pyramid, consolidated all the power, and the entire network of the world is in their hands, where through command and control, through doling out responsibilities, the left hand never knows what the right hand does, compartmentalism it's called, even if then, they're good. 100 years from then it could be bad, so we can never let that happen. So I'm a nationalist, and I don't know anything else to do. People of Ireland need to be nationalists. My family is from Ireland, and we've worked very hard to help. You think you got it bad here? I mean, and we can go into the whole, MI5 infiltration of the IRA. I know all about that, but they spoke out of turn. They were in the wrong place at the wrong time. Guilt by association. They throw you in a hole. And you're gone. There's no trial, okay? There's no rights, there's no privileges. They throw you in a deep, dark hole, and that's it. They tell you you're gone and you die. There's nothing that you can do about it. But whether you live in Ireland, whether you live in Africa or South America or Russia or Europe or wherever, the only hope you have is to hold on to your national sovereignty and your national identity. Otherwise, and we live in this great country, a great country, otherwise your rights will be replaced with privileges. It's no longer a right to protect yourself. It's a privilege. And why do they make you wear your seatbelt? Because they got to protect their investment. Because they put a number on it. You're worth a few million, depending on, they've got this all analyzed. How much money you're going to make for them in your lifetime, and you're their investment. Just like a head of cattle. And that's how they choose anything for us. but they're doing us a favor. It's for our safety because they love us. All right. So, accountability. It's the court of public opinion that means the most. And we have been off the charts. You told me 5 years ago we hadn't gotten this far. I would never have believed you. I was asked by Jim Mars again earlier today, what's the most important contribution to waking people up to 9/11? I'm thinking, going, is it Alex Jones? Is it this guy, that guy, the other guy? No, they kicked ass. Alex Jones woke me up, okay? Was it David Icke? It was Loose Change. A couple of guys made a movie, put it out. I did the first interview ever with Bill and Avery for Loose Change 1. I'm proud of that. But no, it was Loose Change. No one saw it coming. No one saw it coming, and it created a viral phenomenon that will be repeated. It'll happen again, and again, and again. Because the bar has now been set higher. So when we talk about, citizens' grand juries, when we talk about taking the evidence, and I got to tell you, I agree with Stephen Jones. Let's decide on what the criminal evidence is. Keep researching, but take that and then move it forward. But look, let's be honest here. Let's not be naive. No one has ever been accountable. In the history of this country, no one has ever paid the price for their crimes. In fact, this has been mentioned, I've heard someone else mention this in the conference, and I've interviewed a lot of people that were involved in Iran-Contra, including a DEA agent that was a whistleblower about the heroin and cocaine smuggling, okay, for your safety again, because they love you. Not only are those guys not accountable, but they all have new jobs and they're running the government today. And I talk to people and they go, well, Jack, that was 20 years ago. No! John Negroponte is in government today. Donald Rumsfeld and big-time Dick Cheney and the Bush family, they're still running things when they should have went down off of Iran-Contra. Okay? So let's talk about accountability. Let's talk about what accountability really means, because the court of public opinion is the only place it really is going to matter in the end to get accountability. And when the court of public opinion decides these guys are guilty, they may not go to jail, they may not lose their cushy jobs on the board of ABB or Searle or some pharmaceutical company or the Carlyle Group or whatever, but we'll know. And everyone will know. And everyone will know what the great Bill Hicks once said: all governments, not just the United States, but all governments are liars and murderers. So what is the most important thing, in my opinion, is to stop the global groupthink. And we're all susceptible to it, okay? Why do you think they call it programming? You know, you got 500 channels of programming. You work all day, you're in debt up to your ass, even your kids can't pay the debt that you have for your 2.3 shiny cars, your big screen plasma TV, your house and your boat and your beach house. They'll never be able to pay that off, and you got to work 2, 3, 4 jobs to do it. And you come home, you crash out on the couch, you're dead to the world, and you're watching your 500 channels of programming. We're all susceptible to this, okay? I was at Madison Square Garden. I was probably 40 feet away from Bush when he was on the round stage. 40 feet. And I watched all these Stepford Republicans crying. Oh, he's our hero. And I started thinking, I've read hundreds of books, seen hundreds of videos, I've interviewed all the experts, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he really is a good guy. Maybe I should go volunteer for the Republican Party in the Bush campaign. Maybe like the daughters of the people working that campaign, little white girls, I can hold up a sign that says, Viva Bush! Or maybe I can tell people how there's a Bush behind every terrorist, not a terrorist behind every Bush. show, I end it this way. This is how I end my show every day. I say, be bold and mighty forces will come to your aid. And that's a quote from Goethe. Be bold and mighty forces will come to your aid. And I want to correct the record. Because I always hear this, the truth will set you free. But you know what we've been doing for 5 years? We've been setting the truth free. That's what we've been doing. We don't have to wait for the truth to come along and tap us on the shoulder, slap us in the face, and pull our pants down in order to take a look in the mirror, really understand who we are and what we've been doing all this time. We've set the truth free. Or it ain't going to set anybody free. There is no truth. There are many truths. One thing we know, and we know this, and I'm going to my grave with this, is that 9/11 was an inside job. And I don't care personally, and I'm not speaking for you, and I really respect people that want to go out, get this in the courts, make this happen. Watch George Bush in a Gitmo jumpsuit doing the perp walk, on his way to federal prison. Fort Dix is where they ought to take him. Right. Another dick joke. But I know it's not going to happen. I'm not being pessimistic, and I don't care. I'm not a naive person. I'm an adult person. And all I care about is in the court of public opinion, these guys are tried and convicted so they can't get away with it ever again. People ask me, Jack, Zbigniew Brzezinski, you're going to hear Webster Tarpley come up in a minute. He's going to blow your mind with some of this information. Zbigniew Brzezinski told us and warned us. He literally came out, and he has a history of doing this, okay? Read his book, Grand Chessboard Between Two Ages. He has a history of doing this. He just tells you what's going to happen. I don't know how he knows. He looks at a crystal ball or something. He reads the tea leaves. I don't know how he knows always what's going to happen down the road. But here's another grave warning. Not from Henry Kissinger, but from Brzezinski. Let me get to that in a second, because that just reminded me of something. Nixon, when he was running for president, when they were about to put him up for president, he goes to a cocktail party. He's at the cocktail party. He's scared of Kissinger and all these guys. He's really kind of a worm. He's very scared. They're very intimidating to him. And, and he talks to Kissinger, and they talk, about, events and how the election is shaping up. And Kissinger says, what good is democracy if you can't elect a Rockefeller for president? And they just about did it. Just about did it. All right. So, I don't want us to get our hopes up. I want us to keep doing what we're doing because this is working. This is what works. What we've been doing works. Go the extra mile. Man, if you can find a way to convict these guys and hold them responsible, okay, do it. But the court of public opinion is where it's really going to matter. There are people right now waiting all around the world to hear what we're talking about right now. They just don't know where to go. They don't know what website. They don't know how to Google it. They don't understand, how to get the information. But the seed's been planted. You just got to come water them, okay? And they're ready to go. So getting this information out is so important. But while you're doing it, will you please remember that you're accountable. Because if you're out telling people 9/11 is an inside job, that our government and the New World Order is consolidating in order to control us in this massive scientific dictatorship, this global electronic prison, if you're out doing that, I hope you're walking the walk, okay? I hope that you're not a hypocrite. I hope you're a good example. When your neighbor, I have a neighbor, he's 85 years old, man. He's just hanging on. He's a real nice guy. And I try to go over and help him chop wood or he'll never take it. I offer it. He'll never let me do it. But if we're not examples, if we're not accountable, if we're not above suspicion, if we don't walk the walk, if we can't back up what we're saying, then no one's going to buy into what we're saying. And while I'm on that topic, there's been a lot of talk about the divisiveness in the 9/11 movement, okay? Look, we're no better or no worse than the rest of the world. There are going to be bad people in our movement. Get over it, okay? This has always been this way. Always in the Patriot movement. It will always be this way. You take the high road. You rise above it. You worry about your own ass. address your own accountability, your own responsibility to your neighbors, to this country, to the world, and then worry about your neighbor and what he's doing, okay? Someone said, I don't know, who said, maybe you guys can help me out, who said this? Love your neighbor as you love yourself, and love God with all your heart and mind. Okay? Did anyone know who said that? Pretty good advice, if you ask me. I'm waiting for my dreams to come true. No, your dreams are waiting for you to come true. We're the snowball. The snowball's already launched down the hill. If you're the Bush crime family or the Clinton crime family, we're about to endure maybe 30-some years of Bushes and Clintons. I mean, does anybody notice that? Should that be a problem? Should we have 2 Clintons and Bushes every time? I mean, for the next 100 years? My God! My God! Well, I didn't notice it. I didn't want that Bill Clinton guy. You know that Rupert Murdoch is aiding Hillary Clinton in her campaign? Okay. Do you know that Barbara Bush calls Bill Clinton her son, and George Bush calls him his brother? You should have seen I'm about to wrap up here. You should have seen we were at the convention in New York. You should have seen Bush drooling over those Schwarzenegger Kennedy kids. I had the feeling he didn't like his own grandchildren, but he sure liked those kids. He had big plans for them, all right? Wow. All right, couple of things real quick. So Brzezinski says they're gonna hit us. I don't think they have the balls to hit us. I don't think they have the balls to go into Iran. They can do it. They can take a big bite, but what it's about for them is incrementalism. What it's about for them is making you love your slavery without knowing you're a slave. It's a Pavlovian Brave New World Order. It is not 1984. They cannot punish you into submission. That's why they got on the hit of covert colonization of the mind many years ago, because they couldn't hold the dam. And they know they can't hold the dam. 9/11 backfired. The 7/7 bombings backfired. It is about incrementalism, and we can work it the same way. We can take big bites in the other way, and in the court of public opinion, if we can get people awake, and it's hard because they have to admit that everything they learned in their lives is likely a lie and indoctrination and mind control, okay? If we can do that, we win. We can't be what we hate. Great movie called Land of the Blind. They have a guy named Junior who's the president, and they kill him, and they put in the radical, people, they want to take back the country, they want to restore the republic, okay? By the way, it is a republic. Here. I pledge allegiance to the flag. That's right, yes. United States of America. To the democracy sorry, I messed that up. It's a republic. It's a constitutional republic and a limited democracy. But Junior, they killed Junior, and the guy that takes over for him is worse than the actual dictator, because he doesn't have any personal accountability, and it's about power, it's about ego. For me, it's about activism, not about ego. We stopped the New Freedom Initiative in Texas. New Freedom Initiative, part of the No Child Left Behind out of UNESCO. Even Clinton didn't sign on UNESCO. Bush signed on UNESCO. A lot of gumption. No Child Left Behind, of course, means that no one escapes if they get their way. And the New Freedom Initiative basically means that all your children will be tested on some junk science, some junk UNESCO, United Nations science that determines if you're in love with the system, you go along with the system, or you'll buck the system. And if you don't pass that test, they drug you. Conveniently enough, Eli Lilly has already made a deal to supply the drugs for the children that don't pass the test. And you have to fight this state by state. We fought it in Texas and we won. We made them real sorry that they even tried to do it. 3 weeks ago, they're putting up toll roads in Austin, Texas, the NAFTA highway for the North American Union. about 300 people showed up at the City Hall meeting where we had legislators, former mayors, senators, state senators, city council members, and corporate chieftains, and you should have seen the look on their eye when 300 people filled the place to the rafters with their torches and pitchforks. You want to guess how they voted? They decided not to vote, and it didn't go through. Phase 2 toll roads. We beat that. I can go for hours. I can go for hours telling you what we've won. We win. We constantly win, and we're in a mindset that we're losers. We're masochists. We want pain, okay, so we can feel something, but feel something and get out and protect your community. It's a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun. And it's fun to see the fear on their eyes. The shoes on the other foot. Because if we don't, we live in an era of technological society. Going back to Brzezinski, he said that the future will be controlled by a few elite, unrestrained by morals, and it will be a technotronic era. I'm paraphrasing him. And he was right again. He knew what was going to happen. They didn't have microchips. I mean, can you imagine? Okay, I'm going to wrap up real quick here. Don't worry. I know you're getting nervous. I might go all night at this rate.
Go for it.
The last election, 2004, both Kerry and Bush admitted that they're related to Vlad the Impaler, which was what they based Dracula on. Bram Stoker based his Dracula character on this guy that used to kill people by the thousands and put their heads on spikes outside his castle. Fun, just all in a day's work for him. Can you imagine if Vlad the Impaler had sound cannons, microchips, microwave weapons, lasers, satellite monitoring, cameras on every corner? There are 30 million cameras in this country, one for every 10 of you. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? What would he do? Well, this is where we're at. These people are Vlad the Impaler. They do have these weapons. They do have this technology. We will be living in a technological prison. Our grandkids will ask us, what did you do? You better have a good answer. If we get to that. I hope we don't get there. But you better have a good answer. They didn't have this problem, 100 years ago. We have the problem now. This is the road, okay? So I want to thank you so much for listening to me tonight, and I went on and on and on, and I can keep going. That's what talk show hosts do. Listen to my show. It's Monday through Friday on the Genesis Communications Radio Network. Go to gcnlive.com. You go to jackblood.com. Find out where that is. I have a news site. It's called uncoverthenews.com. It's as good as Drudge or better. Go find us, look for us. We do this every day. We bring on people like Webster Tarpley, who's coming up. We bring on people like Stephen Jones. We bring on, a variety of people who will break down this research for you. And this is what we do every day. And usually what we do is play some awesome music and let you have a little fun and crack a few jokes. But I'm very serious about what we're doing here. When we're talking about accountability, it is serious. You're accountable. Don't forget that. And stay bold, folks. Thank you for being here.
Hey everyone, I'm with citizensadvocate.net. We have this video, other videos already uploaded to the website, along with MP3s of the speeches. So if you want to watch this, pass this footage on, go to www.citizensadvocate.net. Thanks.